super lightly. My legs are getting better and better. It's crazy. I'd like to have it's a nice atmosphere for what I'd like to talk about, because I want to talk about something super fucking nebulous. So it's kind of a nice marriage of visual and mental here. What do I want to talk about? I want to talk about something that's kind of been in the back of my mind. I mean, I'm listening to Michael Saylor's What is Money podcast with Robert Breedlove about what is money. And it's extolling the virtues of Bitcoin and the security of it and the anti-inflation kind of nature of it. But one thing that kind of keeps coming up, because I'm in the middle of two loans. I'm in the middle of a big commercial loan for a new build of 24 units. And I'm also in the middle of a just basic loan, like a standard, let's say a conventional loan. Even though it's not going to be conventional, it's going to be a DSCR loan. But a more conventional loan for buying a property that I'm going to rent out as an Airbnb in Jack's Beach. And I have more of those types of loans, like just in sheer quantity. And there's one thing that always kind of strikes me as I'm getting these loans. Actually, this time it's the first time I'm not getting a loan in my name. My wife is getting it in her name because her credit is better than mine. And that in itself is kind of an interesting thing. Like, we're the same people. We run this business together. We essentially share our income. How can she have better credit than me? But the answer is simple, is that I personally guarantee a lot of these loans, even commercial loans and business loans. So my credit has more debts on it. Hers is freer and clearer, and therefore hers is a lot higher. She's in the mid 700s and I'm not. So and my credit seems to jump all over the place as these loans are paid, not paid, and I take out debt, I close debt. So there's a lot of stuff going on. And occasionally, I think I've had 2 missed mortgage payments thanks to super late rents and just basic errors from my fucking bank. I actually asked Citizens Bank to correct an error, and they have to write me a letter saying that's not my fault, that their direct withdrawal didn't work in a month, and I wasn't contacted in time to hit the mortgage. And what's funny is the mortgage was with them, so it's like they didn't pay themselves from their own thing. So I called them. They said, yeah, we can write a letter to clarify that, bring your credit score back up, because that harms your credit score a lot to have a missed payment. And then I also had a tenant who was in an accident and didn't pay, and I ended up being a couple of days late on that. I think that can also be cured, because I wasn't super late, and what I did is I triple paid to get in front instead of being behind. But that's just like, I made a fucking admin error there. I should have just been on top of that. But my point remains the same, is that shit happens. Maybe you go on vacation, you take out credit card debt, that hurts your credit. Shit happens, it changes your credit score. And these banks are really like, it's great. I'm happy that somebody's loaning me 80% of the value of something, but they're really a pain in the ass in terms of what they ask for. Like a DSCR loan or a no-doc loan, they're still asking you to send your bank statements with all your transactions, and they're just like vetting the crap out of you. And it's like, it's kind of silly. Like when you're talking about Bitcoin and just that it's like a free network, and you can just deal directly with the person who you're trying to loan with. Like it's just, I don't know how to explain it. Like, it's so silly to have a gatekeeper. Like, of course I understand they have to assess their risk and whatnot, and I get that, but a lot of what they ask is just asinine underwriting stuff that really is just a smoke out, essentially. Like, it's not really underwriting the deal or underwriting your risk level, or it's like, who cares if I spent my money in Wawa or for Russian hookers and cocaine? Like, it doesn't really matter. It doesn't really affect, as long as I budgeted it properly. What's the difference? So that's kind of my point, is that, like, who are they to be my gatekeeper? Especially when, and I say this with all due respect because I've studied a lot, especially when my financial literacy is pretty high. Like, I move my credit up and down very deliberately to create equity, and that allows me to take over, in long term, have refinance possibilities and have equity to pull from, have HELOCs. So my plans have been pretty fruitful. So it's kind of funny to have like somebody kind of arbitrarily say you have a low credit score because of X or Y one events, like singular event, as opposed to look at the empire you created. And then on top of that, they don't really see my corporate successes, because those are in LLCs, and it's kind of invisible. pieces that they're looking at, and it's like there's no real way to put it all together. So my point is, just from a philosophical standpoint, is why the fuck do we have the system running this way? This is pretty much the most inefficient way we could have designed it. You know, you're creating this huge barrier to entry. I mean, like I said, I don't think it affects me that much because I'm able to pivot to having somebody else guarantee the loan. But for your average investor, somebody just trying to get in the game, it's really tough. You know, and it's like, I don't know, like it seems to me as a question of freedom and economic freedom and financial freedom, it just doesn't seem fair to me that there's a gatekeeper who probably is late on their credit card bills and is living paycheck to paycheck and barely making ends meet, and that person is the gatekeeper to me building equity for a 30-year period and basically incurring no risk. The other thing is that's super interesting is that the appraisal for the last loan didn't include Airbnb revenue. It's like as if Airbnb doesn't exist. Like, Airbnb exists. It's an incredible revenue stream. It's such a funny thing to not include that when obviously that is the reality of what's about to happen. So just to give you an example, a beachfront property might make $5,000 to $6,000 a month in Airbnb, whereas a rental it might make $2,500 to $3,500. Like, it is a really drastic difference, you know. And I really think that it's kind of criminal not to account for that difference. Like that difference is very real, and it really should be taken into account. Now, something that's super hurting my argument here is the fact that my phone is totally busted and I'm still using it. If my credit and finances are so good, why don't I buy a new phone? But actually, it's deliberate. I do not want a new phone. I do not want iPhone 15. I don't give a fuck that it's made of titanium. I am super happy with this. So I have a little bit of cracked glass and I have it taped, and the tape is going over the camera, and that's what's creating this light leak effect. I kind of like it. It's very artistic. Maybe add some effects on TikTok and call it a day. But anyway, that's just it. I just wanted to say it's kind of bizarre, you know, that you have gatekeepers for how you can spend your own money and how you can invest your own money. But that's the system that we've built, and I think the banks, you know, the banks have a lot of power. That it's kind of like we've put these admins in our as our overlords, you know, as our gatekeepers. There's no better word than gatekeeper. We've put them in this position, and it's really silly. So I mean, I think that's also why there's so much syndication and private money and other stuff, because, and also corporate, like I prefer doing corporate loans because it's just so much better to do commercial loans, not corporate loans, commercial loans. So much better to do commercial loans than regular loans. So anyway, that's my 2 cents for the day. Just wanted to explain that. Any questions, anything I said where you're like, what the hell is he talking about? Just reach out with comments, or, you know, contact me directly, and you know, let me know what you'd like me to explain more, any topics you'd like me to cover. Happy to do. And I've put my course online. It's basically how to run property management. It's like how to give your guests and your tenants white glove service. It's a pretty simple way to do it. So go ahead and sign up for that. It's all free. So I'm not trying to make any money on it. I just want to organize it in one spot. I want to put all the videos and all the documents, all the leases and stuff in one spot. That way it's like one conglomerate. And then, I don't know, I was thinking maybe to start like a Facebook group or do something so that we can just discuss it a little bit more, because I think it's really helpful. I mean, I've been doing this now for a long time. I worked as a property manager in Brooklyn under somebody for 2 years, 3 years. Helped him out even after I was no longer working for him for another couple of years. He's great. He taught me a ton. And then I've been doing it on my own now for about 3 years. So it's a good 5 years of experience. You learn a lot of lessons the hard way, unfortunately. But I'm happy to explain that to you so you don't have to do that, because that white glove service goes a long way. You know, just yesterday I had an Airbnb guest who was super angry. You know, wrote a long letter to Airbnb about some parking situation. It was a little bit of a ridiculous situation, but the fact is she was angry. And I was able to talk to her on the phone, give her that white glove treatment. Then she had further problems. I couldn't get the TV on, and like she's a little bit of an older woman, like grandma. it's kind of hard to explain like tech stuff to them, but she was kind enough to pick up the phone, and I was able to talk to her, then text her some instructions, about 12 hours later, and got her set up to the point where she was saying, "I'm sorry to bother you." Like, she was being kind of rude at first. So, I mean, that ability to take somebody and give that white glove service and turn somebody who was kind of hostile towards you to being thankful, it's pretty useful, because we're in the service business. So, I mean, if I'm taking somebody's money, I'm basically agreeing, I'm now obligated to offer them that service. So I think I'm lucky because I was in the bar business before and I was a teacher before. So I think I'm kind of used to how like my energy means I got to give, right? But I think although I'm lucky with that, I'm kind of trying to train, other people to be that way, the people who work for me, my wife, because I think she's not really used to it. She's really good on paper, but I think she can be better face to face, or just leave that to me because I seem to have the skill set for that. So basically, I'm really happy to treat you to my course and just give you how to have white glove service, because I think it's an absolute must for the way the world is and the way Airbnb is going. You really have to provide excellent value. So there's a lot of ways to do that. And we're compiling them. So yeah, by all means, get involved. Shoot me a text, and hit the in the bio. Depends where you're seeing this, but in the bio you should see a link back to the property management course, the Evil Landlord course. All right, cool.